Hello and welcome to the big picture. The removal of Defence Research and Development Organisation DRDO Chief Avinash Chanda 15 months before his contract ended has raised hackles among the scientific community. The Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar has however said that the removal was undertaken to bring in new and younger blood into the organization's top echelons. The DRDO, which has been credited with some key developments in missile technology apart from other successes, has however also faced criticism for delays in many of the projects it has undertaken. Projects such as light combat aircraft Tejas, Nag missile, AWACS, for instance, have been plagued with delays and cost overruns. With the present government planning to pursue the Make in India with vigor, the role of DRDO in it has also been under discussion. In the light of all this and the removal of its chief, we will look today at the entire issue as well as what ails the DRDO. To discuss this, I have with me Major General retired Afsar Karim, a national security expert, Dr. G. Balachandran, Consulting Fellow, Institute of Defence Studies and Analysis, Commodore retired C. Uday Bhaskar, Director, Society for Policy Studies, and Saurabh Joshi, editor of the website StratPost, which deals with defence and security issues. Welcome to all of you. General Karim, was this removal, the Defence Minister is saying that the director was removed, the DRDO chief was removed because they wanted to bring in younger blood into the organization. You think this was the right decision at this stage?
You see, this is rather an abrupt removal, which doesn't seem very right. And talking of fresh blood, it's not only the chief, it concerns the whole organization. It concerns also the institution as it is organized today and how it is to be modernized on technology-wise or whatever reasons are. So it looks a little odd that he was suddenly removed.
He was given
I don't know whether...
He was given an 18 months extension 3 months back.
Yes, it was a contract.
Right,
so contract must be some basis that how will they ask him to go away in case they want. But it seems that it was rather abrupt.
Dr. Balachandran, how do you look at this? Do you think that the Defence Minister's position that this was necessary to bring in fresh and young blood into the organization, does it gel?
I don't see any connection between removing the head and bringing young blood. And secondly, above all, this is a question. It means younger blood is mean sack all the chief controllers of DRDO and bring everybody young. That's a very bad move. These are engineering knowledge gained over a number of years. One does not gain a fresh engineering graduate unless he's a genius, like Maxwell or somebody comes in and does something. It requires a lot of engineering knowledge. And just to say young blood, and more important, it smacks of a certain arbitrariness that somebody is there and he's, from what I read, he didn't know that he was sacked till this morning himself.
Right.
This is not the way to build up the morale of any organization, let alone an organization where you've got bright people who are working in the surety that they are doing something for the country and that the chiefs will be there to support them. I find it totally inexplicable.
Uday? Uday, how do you look at this?
My own assessment is that this decision to quote-unquote terminate the services of Dr. Avinash Chanda has been done in a very shabby and graceless manner. Now, for many years, I think there has been a general received wisdom on the subject that the DRDO as an institution is in need of revamp, and we've had a number of committees, including the Palle Ramarao committee, which has done some exemplary work. But instead of dealing with this in a very organized, methodical and objective way, we have a situation where the chief of the DRDO is removed in what seems to be, I can't think of any other word except graceless and shabby. That one section of the media says that he didn't know about it, yet the appointments committee of the cabinet seems to have arrived at this decision. So I think this is really not a very good reflection on how we deal with institutions and how do you go around building institutions, because as I said, it is nobody's case that the DRDO itself is in need of structural review and an internal, I would say, audit. But at the same time, to give a man an extension in November and then remove him in this, what seems to be a furtive manner, on the 14th of Jan or the 13th night as it has been made out to be, does, I think, reflect poorly on the government.
Okay.
Girish?
Yeah. Saurabh? Saurabh, the question is this. See, the defense minister has been quoted today as saying that, we have removed it. He has been, to that extent, he has been plain and simple, and he has been frank about why it has done. He says that he has taken the responsibility. He said that he has recommended this, and he also says that we don't know, we are not sure who will be appointing as the next chief. You think at least if that had been done along with this could have this damage could have been contained?
Well, yeah, it's very important to have a transition plan, a succession plan, if you will, when you're planning to do something of this sort, because this is clearly very, very surprising. This is clearly very abrupt and unexpected, as Commodore Bhaskar said. It looks a little shabby. The way the news came out, the way Dr. Chandar found out about it. And if you still don't know who the next head of DRDO is going to be, who the next scientific advisor to the defense minister is going to be, it's a bit of a shame that there's that much thought hasn't gone into doing this. They should have given it more thought.
General Karim, the question is this. There have been a lot of criticisms, there have been a lot of concerns about the working of the DRDO. You think that has to some extent been responsible for this decision?
No doubt. There was a lot of problems with this, our projects and the services whom they were...
The apparent reason which is being given that, we want to bring in new people, which means that the present chief is old enough, he's on contract. What the defense minister says that he's in contract, we don't want people in contract to be heading such an important organization. So is there something more to it than what is being said?
You see, what is indicated earlier in the media, that when the Prime Minister visited the place and he interacted with them, he was not quite happy with the type of excuses they were given, why there are overruns and why things like that. And perhaps one of the reasons is that.
And the Prime Minister had reasons to be unhappy.
Yes, he had. He had a view that this is rather, what's happening is not correct, and which is also correct because there are a lot of delays which is not acceptable.
So you think that there have been problems within the DRDO and the chief had to take the responsibility for it?
No, there have been problems, but this is not the way to sort it out.
Dr. Balachandran? It is no secret that the problems about the problems within the DRDO. So you think somebody had to take responsibility for it finally?
Look,
and is that maybe that's the way the government is looking at it?
Look, I beg to differ with my co-panelist. This is a common wisdom which doesn't have any foundation at all. That there's a lot of delays, lot of cost overruns, this happened, that happened. Let's understand one thing. DRDO is a research organization. It's not a manufacturing organization.
Right.
Now you've got an Arjun tank, let us say, it gets delayed. Does anybody make engines in India? Turbochargers? No. So what is DRDO supposed to do? Set up a turbocharger factory? Now we have got Tejas. It requires a gas turbine. Does anybody make turbine? Does anybody even know what a turbine is? What everybody expects is that somehow DRDO will throw a van and a gas turbine will come, a diesel engine will come, electronic. Do we manufacture chips in India? No. The third thing is this. DRDO is not an organization which can go and buy off the shelf, get a diesel engine of the military specification from anybody in the open market. No, I find it totally ridiculous. People without any understanding, without having studied the subject, by just reading newspapers, and somebody who has read on the basis of what he has read, said 70% import, 30%. Who said that? Has anybody done a study? I have done a study, it doesn't show that. And then this is taken up by the political leadership. And since made in India, what is means by made in India?
Make in India.
To say that make in India, you are going to make a turbine engine tomorrow. Make in India, made in India, all this is the same thing. It's all wording, verbiage. No, look, what is going to happen is this. And thirdly, when you are talking about young scientists, it's the young scientists who are leaving DRDO. And you think this is going to encourage them to stay any further? That when there is an arbitrariness, they don't know what is going to happen. They are going to be sacked on the basis they are not delivered, which is not their fault. You mean they are going to stay? Look, you want to do something, do it in a constructive manner. Just because you get a power, you can sack somebody, you don't go around sacking somebody. Let me put it this way. DRDO can improve as should every other organization in India. Has the industry developed any product of its own? No.
Okay.
Then what are we talking about? Can you have a make in India defense product without the industry doing anything?
Okay, those are very strong words, Dr.
I find
Balachandran.
it all an ad hoc decision made by ad hoc politicians.
Okay. Uday, there has been some criticism about this, about what the DRDO was doing recently. It is supposed to have built some, battery-controlled silver chariot for a temple in Maharashtra. You think this is the kind of thing which the DRDO was supposed to be doing?
No, Girish, I think we must separate these two issues, and since Bala has made some, very strong kind of views that he's expressed. One is the manner in which Dr. Avinash Chandar and his services have been terminated. I think by and large we are agreed that this was shabby, graceless, and it does not appear as if the government and the defense ministry had a satisfactory transition plan. The only caveat I would add is that if between November, when the extension was given to Dr. Chandar and where we are now, if the government of the day or the defense minister was made aware of some major transgression, then one can understand that there was some urgency to this particular decision. To the best of my knowledge, I don't think it is anything of that nature. So I still submit that the manner in which Dr. Chandar's services have been terminated does not reflect well on the government. But there's a larger issue. We have a new defense minister, and as a security analyst, as a defense analyst, I still put my head on the block and say that DRDO is in need of very, very deep institutional review and audit.
Right.
There was an attempt made under the UPA government when we had the Palle Ramarao report, but unfortunately, to date, it has not been tabled in Parliament and discussed. And Girish, on your show, we have discussed this aspect.
Right.
Now, the suggestion that DRDO, we cannot say anything about it, I'm afraid is not valid, because apart from R&D, the head of DRDO is the scientific advisor to the defense minister and plays a very important role in the overall indigenization effort.
Right.
So for 30 years plus, we are talking about India and an overall infrastructure where we do not even make a personal weapon for our soldiers.
Right.
So there is an institutional problem. It has to be addressed. And I think that is another issue. But it is unfortunate that Dr. Chandar's termination has been done in this manner, because I don't think it would really add to carrying out this deep structural review and audit that DRDO needs, so that at the end of the day, the country benefits from the overall effort.
Absolutely.
So I think there is something that we need to look at as a country.
Okay, Saurabh.
Girish?
Yeah, Saurabh, there's a lot of, when we are talking of problems within the DRDO, some of it, Uday Bhaskar has spoken about it. What kind of efforts have been made by the government within the organization to restructure, to create, to create a new, better institutional structure there? Has there been any such efforts?
Well, the new government, I mean, to my mind, the first thing that comes to mind is, I think it was in last October or early November, that there were plans to conduct an audit of the various projects of DRDO in terms of, how well they're progressing and whether they're really worth the time and money that is being spent. Now that's a good exercise, and in fact, I feel that it should be an annual exercise.
That exercise is still going on?
Correct, to my knowledge. But this is something that needs to become institutionalized. You need to have constant review at a higher leadership level, independent review. But backing the truck up a little bit, if you look at the termination of Dr. Chandar's services, when he was appointed in May 2013, the idea was that the government of the day knew that he would retire midway. So for the sake of providing continuity, it was decided that he would have a 3-year tenure, and once he retired, he would be put on contract. Now, of course, it is the prerogative of the government of India to decide who and when it can have serving it, and it's also up to the defense minister to decide who he wants advising him. But the way it has been done, especially considering that Dr. Chandar is probably one of the more shall we say, successful project managers that have come out of DRDO in terms of having a program that has worked better than other programs.
Missile program.
Exactly. It's probably delivered more results than other programs of DRDO have. So I find that a little ironic that the government has chosen to do this.
General Karim, as far as Mr. Avinash Chandar's record as a scientist, as a leader is concerned, we haven't seen too much of criticism as far as that is concerned. So the problem, has he taken the hit because of the problems within the organization?
You see, you are quite right. Actually, his record is quite good, especially in missiles and other things. But an overall organization, it has to be done. This could be done in a different way.
But you concede that there is problems within the organization.
No, there is
and
an
what
armament
are the steps which are necessary to ensure? Why have there been so many delays? Why have there been so many cost overruns?
Yes, there have been delays, and after that also when armaments are produced, generally it's not been to the satisfaction of the armed forces.
Okay.
But that does not mean that this one man, by his removal, you remove all these problems. You could have used him to carry on the corrections and then ask him to leave.
Yeah, Uday, before I let you go, the question is this. Now that the scientific advisor, as you rightly pointed out, is also the scientific advisor. So you think that this step could cost a hugely as far as the morale within the organization is concerned, and how do you think some grounds can be restored now?
Well, again, I would say that for any institution, when you remove the head in such an unceremonious manner, it would definitely have an adversarial or a negative impact on the morale of the entire institution. Now, my sense again is that it doesn't appear that the Ministry of Defense has a swift transition plan. We are not aware as to who will head the organization.
The defense minister
at a time
himself
when
admitted
the DRDO needs institutional, what I would call as redress, it is unfortunate that Dr. Chandar has been removed in this manner. So I am afraid the overall impact will be negative, and it will take some time for the system to regain its earlier balance, and the whole larger task of ensuring that DRDO is able to live up to the expectations that the Prime Minister had indicated when he last visited the institution. Girish?
Okay, thanks for joining us. I'm told that you need to leave. Dr. Balachandran, the question is this, that everybody seems to agree that there has been problems within the DRDO. Why has it taken so long? Why do you think that the correctional mechanism has not been put in place? Who is responsible for it? There is also this criticism that within the organization hierarchy, youngsters are not allowed to move up. The old people, the older scientists tend to stay on, even after retirement. You think these are all valid criticisms?
Look, I have studied DRDO the first time. I did the first study on DRDO was done in 1979 by me,
okay,
25 years ago.
Okay.
I've been hearing this story about it, needs reorganization, etc. Look, let me put it. The irony of the fact is this. Avinash Chandar is responsible for one item that if he had not made, you could not have bought anywhere in the world for love or money. The Indian Army may say anything about DRDO. If we had not built Agni, they would not have got a nuclear deterrent for money from anybody else because of the restrictions. We have a nuclear deterrent and a delivery vehicle only because of Avinash Chandar. That's what he is the one. Now the second thing, yes, DRDO, like any institution, needs to change. But people seem to believe that a defense organization, R&D in US and everywhere, without the support of an equally vibrant technological industrial base, you can do it by yourself.
Dr. Balachandran.
Have we invented anything?
Dr. Balachandran, sorry, I have a question for you.
I mean, I don't want to talk about, please.
Dr. Balachandran, I have a question. I have a question for you. You said
Ask
that
me.
you said that 25 years back you did a study of this, you did a review of it. What were the lacunas which you found, and has anything been done in these last 25 years to overcome those problems and lacunas in the organization?
Okay, let me tell you. When I did 25 years ago, there was a big committee to study about a turbocharged diesel engine for heavy vehicles. A committee was set up which they said we should set up a turbocharger making facility. It has still not been done. Without that, how do you expect to produce an engine for our tank? Okay, then there was a GTRE which was testing at that time with one engine test bed. You don't test a turbine engine with one engine testing. You have a series of engines, so when one breaks down, you do the other one. They were doing it with one engine. I wrote about it that time. Thirdly, you have got a competing requirements. I agree the armed forces need some equipment for their immediate need. But let us be clear. If we had not made Agni, today the Indian armed forces would have been without a missile in their arsenal. Because, and I studied this because I'm an expert on export control, there is a ban on selling missiles to India.
Right.
So let's not talk about, I agree this change. But do we have an industry which can support a defense R&D? No.
Sir, my question is that...
That industry also organizes itself.
So the question is that despite pointing out all these problems, would you blame the successive governments for not being able to create these kind of base for DRDO to build on, or whom do you blame the scientists for not having pushed it forward as much as they should have?
No, look, the scientists, yes, but what can they say? Look, I look for a study. Let me put it this way. I want for an array, I want a very high quality chip. I don't get it in India. I want to import it. Then I have to write an application for an import license from that country. That takes 6 weeks, 8 weeks. In the other country, there's no delay because they go to the market, buy it and put it in the system. An Indian scientist will have to make an application that will have to be forwarded to the US Department of Defense. Then they will get a munitions license after seeing whether it should be given, and then they will send it. So what is it during the 6 months? Look, there's a lot of institutional political issues. I'm not saying the DRDO should not be criticized. Yes, everybody. But for people to criticize saying they are not delivered without knowing what can be delivered and which they would not have been able to deliver under any circumstance whatsoever.
Okay.
Is an absolutely spurious, illogical and ill-timed.
Okay. General Karim, would you agree with Dr. Balachandran that, despite all these lacunas being pointed out, why is it that, all these correctives have not been taken along? Where do you think the problem has been?
I think the problem is the government, which cannot push
successive governments.
Yeah, whichever the government was, because they couldn't, when all these were pointed out, and the organization by itself may not have done it, but then the job of the government to see that it was done, and further improvements could be made. But I don't think that happened. They were absolutely quiet about this for a long time, and now it has sort of come out because of this problem.
So you think that the problem lies with the bureaucracy, or the problem lies with the political leadership? Where does the problem lie?
I think both bureaucracy and political leadership. As far as scientists are concerned, I don't think they have got a good lot of people, but it's a question of how you employ them and what do you give them.
Okay, Saurabh, DRDO as an organization, when it was started, there was a lot of excitement about it, enthusiasm about it. As Dr. Balachandran was pointing out, young scientists, young bright scientists came in. Now, do you see a problem there in the kind of people who are coming into the organization? Do you see a problem with the quality of people who are coming into the organization?
Well, I wouldn't put it like that. I think it's more about a culture that has been allowed to be created by the government. I remember under Defence Minister Anthony, there was very little done to sort of monitor the different projects and try and assess, what is working out and what is not working out, and sort of, increase your expectations in terms of results. So I wouldn't really blame DRDO as much as I would blame the government of that day for the situation that has been allowed to be created. And this is not about a Congress government or a BJP government. This has happened
The
through the
system
decades.
itself.
Yeah,
The system itself.
There's a lack of appreciation about the kind of work that DRDO is expected to do for the defense forces, and that needs to change. I mean, you can't suddenly come into government.
I'm coming to you, sir.
You can't suddenly come into government and ask DRDO to start delivering on projects instantly in 6 months or 8 months' time. I mean, that's not how it's going to work.
Yes, Dr. Balachandran.
Look, Girish, why do we say DRDO and the government? In every country, defense research and everything is driven by the advances in the industrial sector. Now, we somehow seem to feel the Indian industry is one of the glorious achievements of India. It is a fault of the government, the Indian industry, which has invested very little, if at all, anything on
Sir,
R&D.
that is exactly the problem.
And the third thing is,
Sir, that's exactly the
then
problem.
why do you blame the government? You say,
No.
what has the industry done?
The industry says that we have not got enough incentives to form the investments of the private sector in defense sector. We know how poor it has been. Even in the last 10 years that there's been a lot of talk about it. 26% was given, foreign investment was allowed. It is not, no investments or virtually no investments have come in. Even domestic industrialists doesn't seem to have taken interest. Why do you think this has happened?
Well, Girish, do you mean to say, apart from the defense sector, the Indian industry has a glorious record in civilian industry? That they are world leaders in any industrial industry? I mean, why are you saying only defense? They have had no record in any industrial activity, R&D.
Okay, sir. Sir, very quickly.
Not defense only, even civilian.
Okay, sir, very quickly. How do you think this situation can be retrieved now? You all of you agreed that this has been done very shabbily. It will cost the morale of the people who are working in the DRDO. How do you think the situation can be retrieved now?
Look, the first thing has to be at least bring more explanation than saying that we want to bring younger blood. Or the senior scientists in DRDO now should start thinking whether they should leave DRDO because they would be sacked one day. Then if the senior engineers and scientists leave, you think the younger scientists will all take over and make India a glorious defense industry?
Okay.
I mean, look,
Okay, sir.
Use some intelligence.
Okay, sir. Very quick last words to you, sir. How do you retrieve the situation?
No, I don't think the damage has been done.
Damage has been done.
But the question is, there are ways and means to repair it partly.
Okay. I think on that note, we need to end. All my panelists agree that the way the chief of the DRDO has been sacked is not really the way it should have been done. Hopefully now the government will come out with more explanations and be convincing enough so that the morale of the organization, which seems to have taken a hit, or at least that's what my panelists feel, will be retrieved to some extent. Thanks to all my guests, Dr. Balachandran, Major General Afsar Karim, Saurabh, Joshi, and Commodore Uday, Bhaskar, who had joined us earlier. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue in the big picture same time tomorrow.